Twilight was one of the biggest, if not the biggest, series from the early 2000s to the early 2010s. Yet somehow, after scrolling and searching, there has never been an Iceberg made on this series that I can find. As someone who has reread the books a million times and just restarted Midnight Sun again, and owns the illustrated guide, I feel somewhat qualified enough for this topic. So here I am. Welcome to the unofficial Twilight Iceberg. An iceberg is a concept in videos where the most relevant and known facts are at the top of the iceberg, while the least known facts or scarier topics are at the bottom of the iceberg. So let's start with tier 1. 50 Shades of Grey. The famous book and movie series 50 Shades of Grey by E.L. James was originally a Twilight fanfiction called Master of the Universe, which is a crazy title, but continuing. With Christian Grey being Edward Cullen and Anastasia Steele being Bella Swan. 50 Shades of Grey ended up blowing up into a massive universe, its own thing, multiple movies, millions of dollars made, and it really shot actors and actresses like Dakota Johnson into the limelight. But it was a very smutty movie series and very smutty book series, which directly opposed what Twilight was. In an MTV News interview, Stephenie Meyer said, quote, "I haven't read it. I mean, that's really not my genre, not my thing. I've heard about it. I haven't really gotten into it that much, but good on her. She's doing well, and that's great." But I do remember others believing that Stephenie Meyer hated the series due to the smut aspect, and at the time she was part of the Mormon church. And the Twilight books avoided the topic of sex as much as possible and anything that would be deemed inappropriate according to the Mormon church. Ratatouille, Regurgitate, etc. are all names used on the internet to discuss Renesmee, Edward and Bella's child. This is not only due to the silly name that she chose for her, but also the way they filmed her for the movies. In the books, Renesmee is explained as being very advanced, very mature for her age, and also explained as having like this knowledge behind her eyes. They tried a human baby. That didn't really work. They tried a million different things. They also tried to use a robot. This is the robot. When you hear people say regurgitate, this is who they're referring to. This is regurgitate. This is Ratatouille. But where we end up in the movies is a real baby, but they take Mackenzie Foy's face, who is the actress for Renesmee, and put it in Photoshop and try to make her face look younger, and they put it back onto the baby's face with CGI, which is why it looks like that. Emmett. In the first Twilight movie, during the introduction scene of the Cullens, Emmett walks in holding a bag of hard-boiled eggs. I don't know why, don't ask me. Why not, I guess, is the real question. They also did, like, photos of him with the eggs. Here are the photos now. I don't know why Eggman. Thank you, Eggman. But also it somehow feeds into Emmett's personality perfectly, like it's a prank, but anyway, moving on. Carrot. After Edward leaves when he meets Bella in the first Twilight movie, there is a montage where you can see Bella kind of looking for him. There's a scene where you can see the Cullen family sitting at their lunch table without Edward, and you can see a baby carrot laying right where Edward would sit. And not only that, but you can see all of their food just laying directly on the table, like no plates or anything. This became a meme on Tumblr reading, quote, "It's so nice of them to lay out a carrot for Edward." Earlier this year, Jasper's actor Jackson Rathbone posted on Instagram and said, quote, "I remember the props department asking me what I wanted. I told them nothing for Jazz, but leave a little carrot for Edward." The khaki skirt. In the book, Bella meets Edward's family in a, quote, "long khaki-colored skirt, a blue blouse, and her hair pulled back into a ponytail." In response, Edward says, "No one should look this tempting, it's unfair." This makes me extremely uncomfortable. Edward, I understand you are a 100-year-old virgin, but please calm down. Many fans, including myself, believed this to be a genuine floor-length khaki skirt, especially with Stephenie Meyer's roots to Mormonism, but recently people have really pointed out that the book just says it's a khaki-colored skirt, a long khaki-colored skirt. Let Me Sign. The song that plays while Bella is dying and her life is flashing before her eyes after James bites her is called Let Me Sign. It's written and sung by Robert Pattinson. Lots of TikToks recently have been making fun of this because you cannot tell what Robert Pattinson is saying in it. Listen to this clip and tell me if you know what he says, and then I'll show you the actual lyrics.
Broke country, hands are all twisted, it's pointing at me. I was damned by light coming, all I see spoke with a voice that disrupted the sky. She said, walk all over, yeah, it's a bitter shade. I will wrap you in my arms, and no, let me sign.
Standing there by the broken tree, her hands were all twisted, she was pointing at me. I was damned by the light coming out of her eyes. She spoke with a voice that disrupted the sky. She said, walk on over, yeah, to the bit of shade. I will wrap you in my arms, and you'll know you've been saved. Let me sign, let me sign. Furthermore, Robert Pattinson also has a song called Never Think that plays in the restaurant scene in the first movie. Tier 2. This is more of a personal opinion, but Angela was the best character. She was the sweetest character. Edward believed Angela to be one of Bella's best options for a true friend, as her thoughts were never malicious towards Bella like Laura and Mallory's were in the book, or Jessica's were in general. She always had kind, genuine thoughts about Bella or to Bella. Furthermore, there is a deleted scene in Eclipse where Angela and Bella make graduation invites, and Bella kind of asks Angela for her opinion on if she should choose Jacob or Edward in a way. Alice's past. Alice's past is something that people have been obsessed with for years, but I'm just going to run through it real quick. This is a very quick synopsis. Alice was put into a mental institution for seeing premonitions as a child. The day that she was put into a mental institution, her parents got her a gravestone with the date that they put her into the institution, declaring her kind of like dead to them. During this, she went through electroshock therapy and had to shave her head, which is why she has such short hair as a vampire, because it was just starting to grow back. While she was in the institution, she was being tracked by James, and an unknown vampire that worked at the institution turned her to protect her. Chinchilla droppings. In a deleted Twilight scene, Bella states that her and her mother used to use chinchilla droppings to create rain sticks. I just think it's a funny scene. Here's that scene.
I used to make these. Rain sticks? Yeah. I had a chinchilla, and me and my mom used to make these out of the chinchilla's droppings and, you know, like paper towel rolls. Maybe that's weird.
Useless gifts. A lot of the vampires that we see or meet have useless gifts or no gifts at all. Esme does not have any, but many fans theorize that her power is to love passionately, be caring. That's why she's such a great mother and a mother role to the family. Rosalie also does not have an exact power, but her beauty could be classified as one since she's just such this gorgeous character. Eliezer, that we meet later on in the book and movie series, does have a gift, but it's just telling other people their gifts, which I feel like is just such a waste of a character. And there definitely should have been a different way of Bella finding out her gift. 9/11. Okay, hear me out. I feel like a lot of people know about this butterfly effect pipeline. At the same time, I feel like if I went up to a random person and said, did you know 9/11 caused Twilight? They'd be like, what the hell are you talking about? But if you want to hear of a good butterfly effect, I have it here for you right now. Gerard Way was inspired to create MCR from the events of 9/11. MCR then inspired Stephanie Meyer to write Twilight. And then Twilight inspired E.L. James to write that fanfic that turned into 50 Shades of Grey. And then 50 Shades of Grey was turned into a movie series and hired Dakota Johnson. Dakota Johnson then went on Ellen, where Ellen made a comment that Dakota Johnson shot back at, which started the downfall of Ellen.
No, that's not the truth, Ellen. You were invited. Last time I was on the show, last year, you gave me a bunch of about not inviting you, but I didn't even know you wanted to be invited.
Well, who doesn't want to be invited to a party?
Well, I didn't even know you liked me.
Of course I like you. You knew I liked you. You've been on the show many times, and don't I show like?
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
But I did invite you and you didn't come, so.
This time you invited me?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
So 9/11 caused Ellen to lose her job. Tier 3. Effervescent. Effervescent just refers to this Tumblr post by Cock McStuffins. The post read, Bella was lucky she didn't have a cell phone of any kind, because you know your boy Edward would be blowing up that phone 24/7 going, saw a snail today, effervescent, or some shit equivalent. People believe this is what started the Twilight Renaissance in, I believe it was 2022, 2023, with a Tumblr user, Whiny Rose, replying, Happy 3-year anniversary to the post that single-handedly launched the Twilight Renaissance. Lauren Mallory. Lauren was a character in the Twilight books who strongly disliked Bella due to jealousy and other reasons that I really don't remember. She got scratched in the movies completely, and a lot of her traits were given to Anna Kendrick's character, Jessica Stanley. They got rid of a lot of characters when it came to the movies, and I do think it would have made the movies more interesting, but at the same time I do understand why they got rid of them. But Jessica Stanley and Lauren Mallory were like Bella's #1 ops. Like, forget about James and the Volturi, like, it was Jessica and Lauren. Edward's first kill. The first person that Edward canonically ever killed was Esme's abusive ex-husband. The alibi. In the Twilight book, when Bella gets put into the hospital after James bites her, Alice covers up the story by saying Bella fell down a staircase and through a window. Alice dressed up as Bella in the books, launched herself down the stairs, and threw herself out of a window. Alice was going full force. So if you're you're ever curious why her parents fell for it, that's why. I was fully committed. Amun. He is from the Egyptian coven, but he is the oldest vampire in the series, and he was born before 2500 BC, which I just think is really cool. Tier 4. Renee and Charlie's thoughts. When Edward meets Renee in Midnight Sun, he can hear her thoughts as a direct opposite of Bella's. It's very loud, almost like a backwards shield, and it is very, very childlike, while Charlie's thoughts are very difficult to understand. If I remember correctly, Edward almost explains Charlie's thoughts as a whisper compared to Renee's as a scream. He has to really focus to hear Charlie. Therefore, it is theorized that if Charlie was turned into a vampire, he would be somewhat of a shield like Bella, but just not as powerful as she is. Bella was miserable. In the books, Bella is in horrendous pain during the whole turning process for the whole 3 days, but Bella explained it almost as if she was being burned from the inside out. Once she turns, Carlisle asks her if the morphine worked, and she says yes, because she could never tell Edward or Carlisle that the morphine didn't work and that she was in the worst pain in her life. Plates. When they kiss or have sex, it sounds like plates or metal grinding against each other. I'm just gonna let you sit with that thought. Tier 5. Jasper's bloodlust. Jasper is able to feel others' emotions, and because of that, there is a theory that he feels bloodlust for Bella a lot more than any other vampire, because not only is he feeling Edward's, he's feeling Alice's, Rosalie's, all of them. This is why he attempted to attack her in New Moon when she got that paper cut. Jacob is not a wolf. At the end of the Breaking Dawn book, the pack learns from Edward and Aro that they are not wolves, but they are shapeshifters. Wolves are known as children of the moon and were mostly killed off, but instead, the wolves that we know are shapeshifters, and they could have changed into anything that would have assisted them in killing vampires and navigating their terrain. Deaths. I feel like not many people understand how the other Cullens died. Alice died by being changed. Although they'd never really died, they were just close to death and then Carlisle saved them. But Esme died by trying to unalive herself by jumping off a cliff after she lost her child. Emmett almost died by being attacked by a bear. Jacob's name. Everyone goes, oh, my sweet baby Jake, but Jacob's name comes from Stephenie Meyer's brother. Her brother's name is Jacob. So next time you crack open a Twilight book, make sure you read those acknowledgments and those dedications. The Quileute tribe. The Quileute tribe is not just a fictional tribe that Stephenie Meyer made up for the series. It is a real tribe on a real reservation in Washington. Due to the series, many tourists have visited the reservation and have completely destroyed the land. The series also took the culture for entertainment without approval and told stories and traditions wrong. Additionally, they never saw a penny from the series. They were exploited without any compensation. The cultural appropriation and tourism have had extremely negative impacts, and last I heard, the popular beach on the reservation La Push has been banned to tourists, but I cannot find proof of that now. But if anyone else can either confirm or deny, please let me know. Tier 6. Mormonism. Everything that I mentioned for this section is based on this Reddit post by Binary Unbounded, so thank you for making this post. But Stephenie Meyer was raised Mormon, and therefore there are religious undertones in both the movies and the novels. I mean, look at Carlisle Cullen next to Joseph Smith. That is not Carlisle Cullen, that's like Carlo Collins. Like, who is that? Anyway. There are also heavy abstinence themes and almost no mention of sex in the books. The woman Bella made the man Edward the main purpose of her life, stereotypical gender roles, Bella's refusal to curse in the book. She never once curses, she only says holy crow. The angel imagery of Edward, etc. There are so many small factors that you would have no clue about, but if you do a quick Google search, you will be open to a whole new world of Mormonism in Twilight, I promise. Hinted love triangle. In the Breaking Dawn book, when Nahul, the other human vampire, comes to the clearing, he continues to stare at Renesmee. Whether this is just an astonishment over not being alone or something else, many fans theorize that there will be a love triangle between Nahul, Jacob, and Renesmee in the future. Or, just a thought, let's give Renesmee love interests that are her own age. Thoughts? Uncanny Valley. This has never been 100% confirmed or called Uncanny Valley, but the appearance of the vampires looks so smooth and perfect that they are believed to give humans the Uncanny Valley feeling, which is why in this scene in Twilight, when Edward comes across those people trying to assault Bella, he kind of steps back. You can also see more of these scenes in the books. Tier 7. Edward's turning. When Carlisle was turned, it was very slow and painful, and he believed that is what made him a very compassionate vampire. So when Carlisle bit Edward to turn him, he made it very slow and painful because he wanted Edward to be just as compassionate as him, which is heartbreaking. Continuing. Renee may have abilities. There's a theory that due to the way Renee's thoughts project into Edward's head, that she'd be a very influential vampire and get her way on most things, but we'll never know, because she's not going to be a vampire. Jacob's sisters. I feel like this is a lot lower than it should be, since it seems like such a basic fact, but I also feel like it is the first thing I tell people when they ask for like fun facts about the Twilight series. But Jacob has two sisters, Rachel and Rebecca, and they're twins, and Rachel is Paul's imprint. You can see her in this clip during Breaking Dawn Part 1, but that's the only mention you get of the sisters. The sisters were also somewhat friends with Bella, which is how Jacob knew Bella. While Rachel comes back in the books and movies and ends up with Paul, Rebecca gets married and moves to Hawaii. They both felt very uncomfortable staying in Forks after their mom died, which also makes me think Jacob's mom is dead if you don't know that. She died in a car accident, and her body was so mangled that they had to have a closed casket funeral. Tier 8. The Malta Coven. The Volturi is a lot more expansive than detailed in the movies. They have wives, guards, etc. There is also a genuine reason given for why the Volturi, and specifically Aro, are horrible people, but I will detail that later. The Volturi has a shield named Renata, who follows Aro around during the final confrontation in Breaking Dawn. Renata comes from the Malta Coven. The Malta Coven began around 400 BC and has one new descendant become a vampire to maintain power in the family. The current members are Luca, the leader of the coven, Kova, McKenna's nephew, a vampire who can sense danger, Jericho, a family descendant turned in the 1700s, Courtney, a descendant turned in the 1500s, McKenna, Kova's aunt. She became a vampire and travels as a nomad with her mate, but comes back to help the family sometimes. Charles, who's McKenna's mate, not a blood relative, but part of the family, and he is able to sense lies, and then Patrick and Jean, who are not related by blood, but part of McKenna's coven. And then there's Renata. Deleted chapters. Stephanie Meyer has a few outtakes from the Twilight and New Moon books that you can read on her website. This includes chapters/pages such as Bella playing badminton, extra details from chapter 20 in Twilight called Impatience, Emmett and the Bear, which is my personal favorite, extended prom preparation, narcotics, which is Bella's reactions to taking Percocet after cutting her arm in New Moon, the scholarship about Bella and some college adventures, and the original draft of New Moon where Jacob does not tell Bella about the wolves. 100 Monkeys. Jackson Rathbone, the actor for Jasper, was in a band named 100 Monkeys from 2008 to 2012. Here's a clip of them performing. Crushes. In the original Midnight Sun draft, Mr. Banner, Bella and Edward's biology teacher, had a crush on Bella. But when Stephanie Meyer revisited Midnight Sun during COVID, she wrote this out. Furthermore, the receptionist that Edward has to talk to switch classes has a crush on him and has to talk herself down and remind herself that he is in high school. Like, I understand that he's older than her, but disgusting! Disgusting! Charlie's love triangle. It is implied throughout the series that after Harry dies, Billy and Charlie both are interested in Sue. Since both Billy and Charlie are interested in Sue, this starts somewhat of a love triangle, but we never see much. We do learn that they are somewhat beefing, and Bella kind of says, well, they're adults, they can figure it out. But we do see this clip in Breaking Dawn Part 1 during the wedding, and then Sue is celebrating Christmas with Charlie in Breaking Dawn Part 2, and then Bella says she's just happy that he has someone to take care of him. So we can assume that Sue chose Charlie. Volturi wives. Sulpicia. Sulpicia. As mentioned above, the Volturi is more expansive than some may believe. Each of the three members have a wife. Sulpicia is Aro's wife, and Aro was her creator. Athenadora is Caius's wife. Didymi? How do you pronounce it? Didymi? That's what Reddit is telling me. Didymi was Marcus's wife and Aro's sister. Didymi and Marcus were deep in love and decided to leave the Volturi. Aro gave them his blessing, but then killed Didymi to keep Marcus and had Chelsea, a Volturi guard, bind Marcus to the Volturi, making him unable to leave. Marcus's depression. It is obvious why Marcus is depressed and does not care much about the others after what I just mentioned, but there is also this clip in the fight scene in Breaking Dawn Part 2 where Marcus does not resist death. This is due to his depression and readiness to be with the love of his life. Tier 10. Robert and Kristen's chemistry screening. Robert and Kristen had their chemistry screening on Catherine Hardwicke, their director's bed, and Rob was so intense that they had to remind him that Kristen Stewart was only 17 while he was 21. Catherine Hardwicke mentioned in 17 magazine that, quote, Rob and Kristen auditioned on my bed, the kissing scene. Rob was so into it, he fell off the bed, she recalled. I'm like, dude, calm down. I could tell they had a lot of chemistry, and I'm like, oh my god. She said, I thought Kristen was 17. I don't want to get into some illegal thing. So I remember I told Rob, by the way, Kristen is 17. In our country, it's legal to, have a sexual. And he was like, oh, okay, whatever. Letting you also sit with that one. I understand that it was like a small production. The budget wasn't very high. What kind of director says, let's do a chemistry screening on my bed in my hotel room? Are you serious? Can we think? Can we use our minds? Can we get an intimacy coordinator on set? What is happening, dude? Can we not do this in like an actual auditioning room where they're standing like 5 feet apart if they don't have whatever? Racism. Lots of little things in the books and movies series are racist, such as Bella describing Leah as a beautiful in an exotic sort of way. There's also the abandonment of the tribe, as I mentioned. Additionally, when humans are turned in the Twilight universe, they become pale and a whiter color. This mixed with the idea that they look pure and beautiful leaves a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. The original movie draft. When Catherine Hardwicke picked up on the movie, it was already going down a path that no one liked, and it was nowhere close to the books. In an interview, Hardwicke states, quote, "The initial script that I read had gone through the whole development process at MTV and Paramount, and you get all these notes. Nobody's fault or anything, but you get notes, and you try this, so it had veered very far from the book. And so I did not like it at all, and no studio wanted to make it, and so Paramount put it into a turnaround. Bella was a track star in the first scene, not an every girl kind of awkward and clumsy kid. She was just like a badass, and then it escalated into this whole thing where there were CIA agents on jet skis trying to find the vampires. You know, it really went, woo! She was not working for the CIA, but it was a different movie. I know that there are a lot of topics that I missed or theories that people adore. If there is anything specifically that you want to see or want me to go into depth about, I can always make another Iceberg. I love Twilight. I do feel like I'm like the #1 Twilight fan. So I would love to do it. And if this is the first video you're seeing by me, it is. This is my first ever video. I'd love if you'd subscribe and support me. That'd be so fun and cool and chill, and we could like be friends. Let's start the parasocial relationships now. But thank you so much for watching the unofficial Twilight Iceberg. Oh, twisted. She's born an enemy.